All right, that's it. Chris Illems, correspondent, and Tokwe Kutei, both correspondents covering the governorship election now in Imo State, which has now been drawn to a complete close. But then there are issues, as we have seen from other parties to the election. The candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Emeka Ihedioha, has been returned by the returning officer there after he polled 273,404 votes. Back in the studio here, I have my colleague Charles Aruka, and we have been joined by the former Commissioner of Police in Lagos, who later moved to Benue State, former Commissioner of Police Fatai Owusheni. Thank you for joining us tonight. And also we have Mr. Sonny Awunuga, a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst. Thank you also for being part of the program tonight.
Thank you very much.
And our very wonderful friend, you all are our friends, and we're proud of you, Liberal Soshoma. Thank you also for being part of this conversation.
My pleasure.
All right, so the 19th state, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has declared the winner in the 19th state. There are still 9 more states that we are hoping to see results from. But based on the last one that we have seen, Imo State, PDP emerging the winner in that governorship.
People going to the course and all that. After all, how do we make our own income? But no, I'm being practical. But the other aspect to it, you understand, like I said, I feel for some of these candidates, because some of them, they are like neophytes. They think it's just like that. They do the homework like armchair analysts. They sit down, do this and that. But at times, it's not like buying or selling oranges, like they say. It doesn't come out quite easy like that. So before you take yet another step again, that will involve you, like they will say, chasing bad money with good money or something like that. You will have sat down, look at it, you understand from the INEC angle, and assured yourself whether you think that battle is worth it or not.
But the man, the man said, haven't satisfied the requirements of the law.
Sir, I don't think a minute will have been too much for them to have published that or read that. If they can take the pains, and I can hear number 60, that means the political party. Party 60, you can take the pains to announce somebody who scored 53, somebody who scored 38, somebody who scored 63. Then what does it take at that point in time to spare additional
to explain
2 minutes?
The requirements of the
requirements that, okay, in addition, in accordance with section 179 of the Constitution, let's assume that's one related to governors, and this candidate,
even if you say that, the lawyers will still complain if they want to complain.
Fine, well, but at least facts and figures.
Yeah, facts
don't contradict each other. If, for instance, is there, the only thing you know is like the person coming to you, probably is lawyer, feel good, trying to tell you, don't worry. But if you are intelligent enough, you look at the figures being announced there, unless the time you want to go, you have different feedback from your agents. Perhaps I don't mind them. What they announced there is different from what happened there.
All right.
The polling units, that's the only time I feel it'll be justified.
So allow me to jump in here. We're about to round this off now, but we know in the last 2.5 weeks or thereabouts, Nigeria has received quite a lot of knocks concerning this election. I'd like to get final thoughts from 3 of you. And what would you say are the good things that we achieved with this elections? Your final thoughts, beginning with Mr. Owusheni.
To me, I think we still have a long way to go. Let's concentrate on the security thing.
All right. So let me assure you, we're stretching this a little bit more. So this may not be your final thoughts. But so let's say we've heard so many things that we didn't do well in this election. Let's relax and say, okay, wait a minute. This was good. This was a gain. We learned this.
I think for the people, it seems as if somehow people's votes are counting.
Yeah.
We may not be sophisticated. You've seen it. It has played out in some of the states. Yeah. Yes, people may go to court to go and challenge. Kano is there, what we've just seen. Oyo State is there. Even Ogun State can also be counted in that regard.
Oyo?
Yes, Oyo is also there. That to an extent, people made up their mind as to what this is what they want to do, no matter the level of intimidation. And that is to say that Nigerians are evolving and getting to know that, yes, we want to, express our wishes as to who we are going to vote for. And we probably need to move on from there. For the political parties, I doubt if they've learned any lesson at all. And as I mentioned the previous time I came here, do we really have political parties? No. Platform to contest election.
That's true.
The rate of indiscipline among the political parties, because the instance of Lagos has been cited, maybe to an extent, yes, they still have a bit of cohesion in the party that they, quickly identified what the problem was. Even after the presidential and whatever election, it's like in Lagos, the parties keep on working and they have been able to build themselves, around a leader that they believe in, sort of. In some of the other places, the splinter groups that you have, everyone was just doing what he or she likes. And this is what is playing out. But for Nigerians, I think, honestly to me, it may not, we are not perfect yet, but Nigerians are evolving as to this is what we want. And if the parties refuse to move along that line, we've mentioned it during the break, voters apathy. More and more people will be getting disinterested in our electoral process, because you now see the build-up to the last election, where every family was buying tickets to say that they want to travel. Yeah. This want the same thing, just because of certain security issues and the way the polity was it up before the election. So the political parties, the institutions must do something. When President Babangida was there, we have the Center for Democracy in Buhari or what, something like that. Yeah. I don't think we've replicated. One way or the other, that center served a purpose. I was a younger officer then, and there were, platforms and fora for political parties, the leadership, to go to Center for Democratic Studies. And Professor Mori, I think, yes, maintained that for some time. And that's something that would have been a best practice for us to improve on, not just killing the Center for Democratic Studies. Because all the people that came in now, some of them, has been said, are neophytes. They just came in, and that is why you can just see people jumping to want to become president at the first appearance, jumping to some people that will not even win councillorship. So there must be, if you have that, you'll be able to tell them. One old man had said that when you are assessing yourself, 4 things. Look at yourself. How do I see myself? How do I perceive myself? How do people perceive me? Is it the same way I perceive myself that people are perceiving me? The 4th one, do they even see me at all? Yeah. So you see a situation where everybody just think, oh, I'm a big man and I have money. And that explains why you have all sort of people, the number of political parties and something. So there must be a kind of discipline that the party will introduce, the party supremacy. We've read how the First Republic played out, where then people that were ministers had to even contribute from their allowances monthly to the running of the party. Not now that people are stealing from the party and you don't have strong party leadership again. And that is why everybody goes awry.
All right, so permit me to button here, and I'd like to address this question to one of the lawyers, or specifically Mr. Awonuga.
Okay.
Well, we have this phenomenon that has probably come to be part of elections, particularly governorship elections, and that's the phenomenon of inconclusive results. We have Adamawa, Bauchi, Plateau, Sokoto, Benue, Kano, 6 states out of the 29 declared inconclusive at the moment. So I would like you to address the provisions of the electoral laws, the weaknesses in it that, makes...
yeah, there might be
that has actually thrown up this weakness, and then how can it be addressed?
Good. Now, under the Electoral Act, the people in charge of the elections, they have a discretion, because at that point in time, they are the ones that are protecting the sanctity of the electoral process. Now, if in their opinion there has been such violence that has been so substantial in their opinion as to affect the outcome of the elections, they have the right to declare the election as inconclusive. And the word is substantial. Now, how do you interpret substantial? That's where that issue comes in. It's left to the person manning the state, I think the electoral commissioner, ultimately. And this will be based on a report sent in from the polling units, centers, and all that before they come to a general conclusion that, okay, fine, we had about 560 voters here. Suddenly, by the time around we had been able to get about 300 and something people to vote, we just saw these people from nowhere. They came, started turning their boxes upside down, sharing this and that. By the time the person looks at it, 3 something out of 560 already. Of course, that's a very clear majority. There's a basis at that time to declare the election inconclusive. But then the problem there is like every other thing. It's meant to be objective, but at times the thing is subjective. But there's nothing we can do about that. That's where the human factor comes in. And that's where it behoves INEC. It's not enough, like I said, to keep saying, oh, yes, we are ready, we are ready. Actions speak louder than words. These elections, they didn't just know elections will be coming around the corner yesterday or day before yesterday or some weeks back. Like my colleague pointed out here, just like he was saying politicians who want to contest for 2023 should start now. It's the same thing with INEC. They say the future starts today. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. If they have started all this in synergy with security agencies, I think they will have been able to predict some flashpoints and hotspots that, okay, in Adamawa, the home state of a so-so person, this is a big heavyweight, maybe in this particular axis, let's expect this, so that some of these things will be reduced to the barest minimum, not in these large quantities that we see them, because whether we like it or not, no election is ever perfect. Even in Senate climbs too that we try to copy, we saw the 20,000 thing about Florida recount and all that before the court has shut it down, that's the end and all that. No system is perfect. But in terms of this one we've been seeing, because most of it has to do with violence. And that's where I say the role of the security agencies too coming. Because I don't know, as at the time they are deployed, whether there is this training. The Honorable Commissioner mentioned about Center for Democratic Studies. Now, in terms of law enforcement agencies, I don't know whether before they are deployed to the fields, the respective commanders, commissioners and all that, maybe they have put them through what they expected that, okay, maybe this one is different from the routine field thing. You are answerable to the INEC, but the problem is in practice we know that won't work, because the gentleman we are deploying to that place is trained to obey only his superiors. That's what they call the chain of command and all that. So by the time you are introducing that novel thing, unless they've taken time well before the election to have inculcated that thing to those people, there is no way we won't be having this problem, because we learned, okay, oh, UK condemned this happening in Rivers, US condemned this happening in Rivers, but these things will continue to manifest because the person in uniform has been trained to be answerable to his superiors.
Mr.
So, by the time they are in a different environment. Oh, your duty is to protect the sanctity of the electoral process. Fine. But if at any point in time another order comes from the people that they are directly answerable to, that one from Mr. INEC or Mrs. INEC becomes auxiliary, because naturally instinct will set in. Oh, this is my boss, let me wake up from my reverie and all that. So that area needs to be worked on perfectly, so that in future, because as I said, we're evolving, we're learning, but we can't keep learning to eternity. Because like I said last time on the program up here, the same program here, I said if it takes you 20 years learning to become mad, how long do you have to practice the madness? When you say democracy, we're still learning at 20, then when do we want to start getting it right? It's taking too long.
So if I understood what you're trying to say, the crux of what you're saying is we have to find a way to ensure that the interpretation of our acts and our laws is less discretionary.
No, not really less discretionary.
Because in the example that you have given, the Electoral Act says that INEC is.
I wanted to act from the position of the Electoral Act, the INEC guidelines, and the what happens on the feed, and then maybe round up with this security, then give the commissioner the opportunity to look at. By virtue of Section 153 of the Electoral Act, INEC is empowered to make guidelines, rules and regulations guiding its operation. And one of such is situations where results are cancelled or election didn't hold. And looking at the number, because your question is what can be improved upon. Looking at the numbers of registered voters from this area, and if the number of registered voters is more than the margin of difference between the first runner-up and the leader of that election, that they should give a right to those that didn't participate in that area to have a bite of the cherry. But in this case, the takeaway for me should be, it's time for us to look at, since we have introduced a novel idea, technology, now it is no longer about the number of registered voters, but the number of those who collected PVCs in that area. Because even if you postpone the election 100 times, it is the number of people who collected PVCs as against the number of registered voters that will vote. And so, if the number of PVC collected is, say, 10,000, and the margin of lead is 15,000, and then you say the number of registered voters is 50,000, you're going to waste money conducting that election again, because you know in your heart of hearts that there is no way you conduct that election and have 15,000 voters, because from your record, those that are actually going to participate in the election are 10,000. So, but INEC consistently says, because of the Supreme Court judgment in Wike and Dakuku's case, that when reckoning with overvoting, you have to use the electoral register as against number of PVC collected, since it is not part of our laws. The card readers are not part of our laws here. So this is an opportunity for us as a learning curve. We have conducted the elections now. Elections have been declared inconclusive. Inconclusive election, and it's on its own, it's not a bad idea. But where the problem is, are the security challenges, like I did say earlier before, where in Osun, security personnel were used to deprive people of certain political parties from participating in the process. Now, people are skeptical. Oh, they've declared election inconclusive. How are we sure that, they won't use security personnel to disenfranchise certain persons? That's where fear begins to come in. And so I agree that now also we now need to look at the security challenges in that regard as a takeaway also, while looking at how do we amend the Electoral Act to accommodate this novel idea. We also need to look at how do we ensure that people who are used, whether security operatives or not, who are used to manipulate the process, to circumvent the will and wishes of the people, like the commissioner has said before in the program, we now find a way of bringing them to book, including the beneficiaries of such processes.
Well, right to, before we go into the issue of security, the issue raised in Imo State, and of course what my friends have said as to the professor not following a particular pattern, what you will notice is that we don't have consistency.
Yeah, that's true.
In some other places, and for an INEC as an institute, they have the electoral college also. I don't know how much of that how much of that institute they've used, because if you are getting professors from different institutions with different orientation and you think possessing a professorial degree is enough for them to come and do this duty, and you don't bring them together at a point in time to say for consistency, this is how you will read out this, that if you are saying that this person has satisfied this provision because he scored the highest vote, to follow up to say, and he has satisfied this other provision. So if INEC had taken that into consideration and give them maybe 1-2 day orientation program, and INEC should also have a strong legal unit where when you face this kind of problem, you can quickly run to INEC to say that this is what has happened. Can you quickly advise as to the legal? Because that fellow had raised a point. Even if Iedioa has satisfied that particular section of the Constitution, the fact that this fellow has raised it, you know, a lot of people are ignorant in this country. And, you know, opinion leader like this, because he has raised that, the illiterates, the farmers, the people back home will now use his issue. And of course, thugs and hooligans may now even come out to say, oh, look, that our representative has said that they didn't say whether he met the 25% whatever provision or something like that. And that is how the thing will re-echo. And that is how you will also see people being violent about the oath, because they just sit down at a beer parlor and say that guy has raised it. They won't even go back to go and look at the results to see whether such a thing, in order to prevent people like that who are rogue participants in an electoral process to come and use their opinion to aggravate you know, tension. INEC needs to take that into consideration now and do a kind of orientation program for such fellows that are being used. Even when you look at the caliber of the people, I want to know, it's not about age, but it's about the sanity and whatever. In a situation where some people have to continue to open their eyes, they won't see the thing. How do you design the form and something like that? Some people do as if they are holding past the age they have given. So because of orientation program, you'll be able to identify who is fit
and who is not
fit.
It's like preparing for a World Cup.
Yes,
you see
and
the
you'll
referees
be able to now prove them down and get people that are fit to do that exercise, because it's a rigorous exercise.
All right, so in 1 minute, we have rivers staring all of us in the face. It's been suspended. What must INEC do, Mr. Owinga?
Well, I think it's very, very straightforward, because even before I came on board the program, like I had said in the past on this same platform, that we have learned nothing, we have forgotten nothing. The history teaches man that man does not learn from history. The Honorable Prescription I also mentioned, because before I came on the program, I was watching it. Now, the point there is, of course, in the past, and even now, these security challenges, they didn't fly from the moon or come from Jupiter. They are noted down. Security agencies have this, and I'm sure they share it with INEC. It's even a disgrace that this was allowed to happen. Rivers did not become a flashpoint overnight. This didn't just happen yesterday or day before yesterday. No, is this something novel? that should surprise the INEC. I think it's something INEC should have been preparing for, you understand, the kind of, oh, we can pop champagne. We already knew this was coming. We're on the ground and we're able to do this on the board. But to say that eventually they have to go through all that, because the essence of having these security agencies, let's look at it this way. The same security challenge that, let's say, maybe some states like, maybe, I don't even know the ones I got mentioned, maybe not Sarawak, Taraba, all those less volatile states will be different from these big ones. If you are deploying military officers and policemen to this place, you can increase it times 6, times 7, or times 8. And it's not just about deploying them. The most important thing is even they claim they have a voter enlightenment unit or whatever it is and all that. I think that one too is a mistake. Because the bottom line is they should let these people realize, like, this thing, no matter how much you kill yourselves, it doesn't change the course of things that will happen in the next 4 years.
All right, so I'm afraid, I'm sorry to butt in, I'm afraid that's where we have to draw the curtain on this conversation at this moment. I must thank you very much, Mr. Let me begin with you. Former Commissioner of Police, Mr. Fatai Osheni, former Commissioner of Police here in Lagos, who was moved to Benue in the twilight of his career. And now retired. Yes. Thank you very kindly for coming. Yeah, for answering our call each time we call you. Thank you very much. I must also thank you, Libros Oshoma, a legal practitioner who's been with us since we began this, and then Mr. Sonny, our Wonuga legal practitioner as well. Thank you for being part of the conversation tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right. And so we have officially brought the verdict to a close. All other results and coverage of the 2019 elections will be brought to you in our various broadcasts as we continue our coverage. We would like to thank all our guests from here in Lagos and from other parts of the country have come into the studio to be with us on the program, The Verdict, and you've injected your thoughts into all the conversations. Our consultants for being part of The Verdict since we started the program, by the most awarded broadcaster in Nigeria and by extension Africa. We're talking about Channels Television. Thanks to our esteemed viewers all over the world and across all platforms. We're talking about cable, satellite, online, IPTV, YouTubers, Facebookers, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for staying through the cause and keeping the vigil with us throughout the period of the 2019 general elections. We look forward to your continued viewership. I would also like to thank all the crew all around the country, our correspondents, our reporters, our producers, our presenters. Thanks all of you, and to executive management of Channels Media Group. Thank you all, and to the team here, Charles Eruka, my co-anchor here, and Ayotunde Balogun, and to the gentlemen in the back end there. We thank all of you. Thank you, Mr. Koeshotade, Ogechukosi, and Videmi Dairo, and yours truly, Kayode Alayande. Good morning, everyone.